True gossip, where the truth and the gossip. That's the concept, it's not the complex. Keep your mindset on the truth and the gossip. It's not a contest, but a step in a process to get the truth and the gossip. From the house to the streets where the gossip meets the truth. It's not the complex. Keep your mindset on the truth and the gossip. It's not a contest. True gossip, where gossip meets truth.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to True Gossip, Season 2, where gossip meets truth. Today, we are 48 hours, well, actually less than 48 hours away from electing the next president of the United States of America. So if you have not voted, get out there and vote on November 3rd.
Shame on you. I'm sorry.
Okay. So anyway, we're just gonna let her go and do whatever she's gonna do. So your vote, it matters. So get out there and vote on November 3rd, all right? But now let's get to it. Before we do it, Tajudeen, we want to welcome back our panelists. Tajudeen Shabazz, say hey.
Peace.
Bishop, great pleasure.
Hi, guys.
And I'm Tanya Colinen. And then, of course, our facilitator, Ramel Royal. And together we are First
Cousins. And listen, I'd like to welcome you all through the internet that's watching us live as we kick off our second episode of Season 2. And this is going to be a little bit different because if you got any comments, questions, individual questions for our panelists, any thoughts, please type it in. We want to hear from you. We are the people who speak for the people. But tonight we want to hear from the people. So don't be shy. Chime in with us. You make the show. But before we get started, I want to say we had a bunch of topics prepared. We're going to get to some of them. But in the last 24, 36 hours, there has been some major events, and we're going to have to touch on that. And I want to tell you, before I even get started, I'm angry. I am very angry at the moment. I am
What's the major events? Because I didn't hear none.
I am upset at what I'm seeing and what I am reading right about now. So we're going to get to it. Exactly. Listen, we've had a year, 5 months, the past 5 months of a lot of events that took place, from COVID-19, the road to the election, Black Lives Matter, white supremacist groups, you name it, we had it. It's time to discuss it because, again, I'm upset. We had another police shooting in Philadelphia, Walter Wallace Jr. Yes. My question to you all are, with that going on, Trump supporters blocking off highways, rolling up at polling booths, listen, where is Black Lives Matter right now? Where are Black Lives Matter right now in a time like this? I want to start with Tajudeen. Where is Black Lives Matter? What is their role? What are they doing for what's going on right now?
Now, when she would have asked me
Not
first.
a damn thing. From my perspective and what I'm seeing, they're not doing a damn thing because they never had a real agenda in Black Lives Matter anyway. It's almost like the Al Sharptons. They show up when things get hot or whatever, but then they don't really have a true agenda, a true Black agenda. So they're not there, and you won't see them there. I'm coming, Ramel and everybody, I'm coming hard tonight. People said I've been laying back, but I'm coming hard tonight. Because they really ain't doing the damn thing. What they doing? What have they done? Nobody's coming with a real agenda. So they show up and protest, and then you invite the devils with you and in your protest. No, come with a Black agenda. Come with a solid program. No. And I'm gonna try to touch on that tonight. Peace.
And my thing is this, as I throw it to Maria, I mean, Black Lives Matter has been a movement, have been very vocal and active throughout the whole summer. But again, we continue to see police shootings. In the case of Walter Wallace Jr. in Philadelphia, he was in the presence of his mom. Now, he had a knife in his hand, but can Black Lives Matter make a difference? Can they get into the courthouses, the laws, can they make a difference so that the streets can be safe for people of color? Your thoughts on that, Maria?
Listen, what y'all misunderstanding is that our culture is not respected. Our culture has never been respected. So why would you think they would respect us now? What I'm trying to say is that, yo, it's not the fact that this one did this or this one did that or this one. We're not respected. So either way, whatever we do, that's how it's going to be. But what I'm trying to say is that Black lives do matter, but it matters in the right hands. And the leaders that we have is not in the right hands for us to move on to the next step that we need to be. That's why nobody is really consciously moving on with it, because everybody's questioning our leaders. We don't really have sufficient leaders that we really trust, that we be like, yo, Al Sharpton, you know, come on now. Jesse Jackson, come on now. Everybody's betting on Obama to lead us out for Biden. But we all know why we voting for Biden. We ain't gonna go there right now. But what I'm saying is it's a cultural thing. We are selfish within each other, within the culture. So how can we just move on? We can't move on until we stop being selfish. We can't be selfish within our culture because we need things that need to be done for them to stop disrespecting us. And we're not going to be respected until we all just come together and be like, boom, this is how it is. Because our vote is the vote. Our money is the money.
Right.
Everybody's spitting Jordans or Gucci or what's that bag that everybody's buying? Blinky or whatever. It's our culture. We're paying them. And for us to not even realize that, it's sad.
I got you. Now, Bishop, Maria have said something about leaders. Now, you're a man of Christian faith, a man of values, a man of Christian belief.
You don't have
Quite frankly, you're a bishop. And you've said numerous times on our show, on our platform, that Farrakhan is the man. So my question to you, Bishop, is we need a leader, or Black Lives Matter movement needs a leader. And if there's one, fine. If there's not, what can we do different? And maybe what can ministers, bishops, reverends can help out in this cause? Because obviously nothing is happening. The needle, if it's moving, is moving ever so slightly. So what can be done or help Black Lives Matter movement go further?
We have to get our Supreme Court system in order. Our Supreme Court system is not in order, allowing the people of color to execute what's right for us. And i.e. Amy Coney Barrett. She's a naturalist, and she does things based upon the 1776 Constitution, in the Declaration of Independence, where a Black man is only classified as 3/4 of human being. So the concept that we have, that's the problem, is that we don't have the right people in the right positions. When it comes to leaders, clergy, imams, or priests, whatever, the problem we have is that everybody wants to be Big I and nobody wants to be Little U. Everybody wants to be the chief. No one wants to be Indians. In order to fight a battle, if Goliath could take a slingshot and a rock, if David can take a slingshot and a rock and defeat Goliath when many people thought they couldn't, it's going to take us to have that mentality that we could defeat this problem we have. We're dealing with naturalists, and we're dealing with people that don't feel that we have a value. And in all honesty, we don't even feel we have a value. We say Black Lives Matter, but it doesn't matter in our own homes. Husbands are abusing wives, children are being molested in the African American home or in the home of color. Answer your question, as far as it goes to religious leaders or cultural leaders, the problem we have is that enough is not enough for us. Getting back to what Maria said, we are the money that makes the country run. We're the ones spending the money on the stuff that makes Donald Trump
Stop the money.
have the money he got in his pocket. We the one who go to his hotel and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to sleep in a room, and we're not even welcoming.
Stop the money.
I go back to the thought of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Did segregation work for us? I believe that was the worst thing that could have ever happened, because before segregation, we had businesses. We owned businesses. Now we don't own nothing.
Yep.
We don't own nothing.
We don't have nothing.
And because of the religious leaders, because everybody wants to be Eddie Long, well, rest him, he gone to glory. But everybody wants to be the big Al Sharpton who's on the set for the publicity of what he's there for, because you don't hear him now. Black Lives Matter was there because they seemed important then. We have a problem. And the problem starts with the leaders, the African-American leaders that can lead and direct the people into the right direction. But because we're so insensitive to what we really need to do, we're more mind conscious of what we don't need to do. We're worried about Trump right now.
Yeah.
We should be worried about Trump. We should be worried about Biden right now. All we're here, and that thing I seen today with them blocking and Biden and Trump with the white supremacists making that bus move with the baby, with her mama in there, and they blocking them and almost killing these people. Where was Black Lives Matter then? Where are the leaders? Why are they
if it was a black man, listen, if it was a black person driving, they would have ran him over.
It's disgraceful. Listen, let's let Tanya have a chance to chime in on this. Tanya, your thoughts. Where is Black Lives Matter in this whole process? What can they do?
I don't know. I'm gonna tell you, I don't know where Black Lives Matter is. You know, that organization was not really for just the black man, the black people. It was for the LGBT community. That's where it started from. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but it was not for the killings of these black men from the police that was killing them. So what I'm saying is that we need a leader that can bring a collective of people together. You know, they're not the ones. I don't know who it will be or who it is, but Black Lives Matter is not the ones that can bring a collective of people together to make that change. We need someone where we be able to hear that voice and they stand out amongst all of us, and we can all come together as a collective of people for the black community to be able to make that change. Because Black Lives Matter is not it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know who it is. The last people, you know, and I hate to say, you know, those people that were able to bring people together and make that change, even though they were just marching, but they made some type of change. We saw the needle moving, but they got murdered. So maybe these people, you know, they're coming together as a group, but you need one person, one voice that can be heard. And just like what the bishop basically was saying was that just like the pastor who brings the sheep in, we need somebody that can bring the black people in. And we can all come together and we can hear that one voice and we can all stand on the same thing and be able to make that change. Because everybody's over here, this person's over there, nobody's on the same page. Everybody has their own agenda. Until we have the same agenda, we're not going to see no change. And where Black Lives Matter is, I have no idea where they are.
But I will say this.
Let's let Kinlaw get a chance to answer.
I'm running for president next 4 years.
I believe that right now, the only organized black ministry or organized black culture that can help make this movement is under the leadership of Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I'll say
Okay,
that.
so, what you gonna say?
Kinlaw, your thoughts, Kinlaw.
With who?
So to answer your question, when I hear the term Black Lives Matter, that term alone, I understand completely. You know, it means that when you see a black man, treat him the same way you would treat an armed white suspect. And I think initially that was the main message. Since then, that message has been lost, okay?
Yes.
The reason why Black Lives Matter doesn't make any changes or get no movement, it's good for media ratings, is that there is no organization.
No.
Listen, all of us are employed, self-employed, or are a part of an organization which you had to go through some things to be a part of. You have to, Tajuddin, who's a part of the Nation of Islam. You don't just walk into a temple and say, hey, I'm Islam, I'm a black Islam. No, you have to go through a protocol for that. A lot of us are employed with a company. Guess what? We have to interview for that. We have to take tests, and then we get paid for that. You have a bishop who is a man of the cloth. You don't just walk into a pulpit and people just hand you over a collection plate and you get to preside over a congregation. So when I go past some of these demonstrations, even in the city that I reside in, it's almost like I can park my car and walk right into that same demonstration and go right along with everybody else. The difference is with the Black Panthers, they had organization up to the point where the CIA had to get involved to take them out. The reason why King had to be taken out by assassination because he had a strong organization. The reason why Malcolm X got taken out because he had a strong organization.
Exactly.
That's that Black Lives Matter is making a movement. Okay, right now they're not doing anything. Okay, and to Tanya's point, initially Black Lives Matter was for the representation of Black transsexuals who were getting treated and harassed and killed, and no one will even prosecute or investigate their lives.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no, Black Lives Matter. It falls on a dud every single time. To Maria's point, the reason why these marches, it wasn't the marches I think that worked. It was the boycotts. If we control the dollar, that's when things get really shaky. Okay.
The money. The money.
The preachers are being paid off now. You have a Donald Trump that can collect pastors, and they all are getting their pockets filled just to go back and spread his agendas. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So leaders can get paid off. There's going to be disarray within the Black community. The reason why Martin Luther King died, not a wealthy man, he was a wealthy man amongst the people, but not wealthy when it came to finances. His is making money. Martin Luther King was not getting paid.
Nope.
Malcolm X was not getting paid.
Nope.
You see what I'm saying? So you know, it's a combination of things. But we did an episode earlier in the year about the rap culture and the rap music, and Maria spoke about culture. The reason why our culture is not being respected is because our most well-known voices or top producers or rappers, or whether we male or female, is talking about the status quo of getting money, shaking this, shaking that, and shoot. We have desensitized our own lives presenting music for our own way what is being put out there. If you turn on Bravo, if you turn on BET, if you turn on any other network that displays the Black family, there is no more different world. There is no more Hustables. There is no more, heck, even the Steve Harvey show. You know, a grown man coming to work dressed up in suits and things of that nature. No, what they do is they glorify the homosexual man as being the strength and gossip of Black men now. They don't show that strong male dominance anymore. They show the gangster man. They show all, and we still say in 2020 today that, oh, you speak well to be a Black man. Wow.
Yeah, good stuff. Before we move on, I just want to say that when I look at the Black Lives Matter movement, I kind of resemble it to my streets of New York days as an adolescent, when I gained knowledge of self and becoming a 5% nation, of the 5% nation. And you have to walk with me on this, because the 5% nation, just like Black Lives Matter, has had good intentions. But both of them seem like that they recruited or encourage the youth. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the youth don't get respected a la like the NAACP or a la the Nation of Islam under the leadership of Farrakhan. So my point is this, just like the 5% Nation had very good intentions with their teachings, but because they recruited or reached out to the youth, and Black Lives Matter is doing the same thing, it doesn't seem like it gets respected enough, nor does it have the help that it needs, or the guidance, I should say. And this is me crying out to the NAACP to reach down and work with the Black Lives Matter. You guys are an established foundation, an established organization that could provide some kind of big brother, big sister mentor to the Black Lives Matter movement, and maybe get it on the track that it needs to be on, and maybe then it could become a difference maker. But until then, as long as
what you don't understand, what I don't understand, what nobody's seeing is that we're morphing. We're morphing. You know, from the night, from Wimbledon. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay.
But we're morphing. You know, from we're morphing. That's all it is. We're morphing.
Oh, okay. I think we over talking each other. I apologize about that.
I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go ahead. But I'm gonna say after. I'm gonna let you finish.
I was gonna piggyback off of what Ramel said. The reason why they recruit the youth, because the youth, these millennials are bold. They don't care. Even though they don't truly have an understanding, they don't care. They bold and they get in your face. And this is the reason why they recruit these millennials. And then to talk about the NAACP, you know, you got to remember, most of these, you know, some of those people that's still there, they just like the people in the Senate. They've been there forever. They don't understand change.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, but they could be mentors, though.
They've been there.
And you know,
they could be mentors.
The same thing. You
They
know,
can
it's just
reach down.
redundant, and it's just crazy.
But you know what? That goes back to what we've been saying. I can't remember exactly who was saying it about we just being selfish. You know, if they're up in age, and one thing about with age comes wisdom. With age comes wisdom. Pass it down to the hunger.
They get wisdom, but they don't know how to
That's
say
the morphing. That's the morphing that I'm talking about. Like like our parents, you know, they grew up with certain type of morals. Then now we're morphed into, society has morphed us into something totally different from what our parents were raised on. So now our kids are morphed, or even they're morphing now into what society is letting them become. And in order for us to sustain it, we need to be like, yo, slow down.
Yeah.
You need to, we're not conversating with our youth like we should be, because we're morphing too fast to a point where we are so out of control with our culture that they don't even know what's going on. We haven't even really even contacted our youth to be like, yo,
more reasons
this
for
ain't how it's supposed to be.
More reasons for the wiser to step in and each one teach one. Each one teach one. We got to reach down and help.
Each one teach one. Each one reach
you have
one.
To reach down.
One.
Let's move on, because we're going to be on this topic forever. Let's move on. So we got Tanya opened up the show talking about get out there and vote. 48 hours left, and we understand that there's a race going on, and you know, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But at the end of the day, we're experiencing long lines at the polls. Is this about voter suppression that the lines is long, or is it just people out there voting more than ever? I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Tanya? Do you think it's voter suppression, or do you think people are just out there and record numbers?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you, at first, it's both. And it depends on where you are. Now, I'm gonna give you an example. I'm in Maryland, and I live in Baltimore County. right? In Baltimore County, we had 11 voting places for early voting. We had the most places for that, right? But then when I got to this place, to this recreational center only had 10 voting booths. And they had it in a small room. But they had a large gym where they could have had 30. Now, my friend who lives in Harford County, they had the same amount of voting, and he got in at an hour. I think he said he got in a half an hour, and he went later on that day. But they had about 30 machines. Now, Harford County is more predominantly white, and
colonizers
is more predominantly African American, people of color, and stuff like that. So I believe that it is voter suppression, and it depends on where you live. Because there was no way I should have been in the line 7.5 hours, almost a whole day of work to vote.
Really?
7 o'clock in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. That's ridiculous. And he went in, and it was the first day and got in and out. That's ridiculous. So I believe that it is voter suppression. It depends on where you are and how they do it. No reason why. And check it out. The same, and they did it in a recreational center where he was, and they had about 50. I saw it on TV. They had about 50 voting booths in the gym. How come they couldn't do that for us in Baltimore County and put it in the gym instead of in a small room next to the gym? That's voter suppression.
You may be on to something. Kinlaw, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that there is a larger number of people that are voting in this election versus the 2016 election. I think that there is a voter suppression. That's been known for. I mean, even though the voters' right has been passed, they've always passed some type of legislation, decade after decade after decade, to suppress the vote in some form or fashion, especially when they feel like the numbers are not going to sway their way.
Exactly.
Right now, we're still dealing with the electoral vote system versus the popular vote system.
Yeah, we need to get rid of that.
I mean, that is going to backdoor us if those who don't want to continue to re-elect Trump as president. So we have to be careful, and I think there's a reason why he's flooding the Supreme Court judges, as well as those federal court judges, because those are the people that's going to be able to make those rulings on how these votes are being counted for years and years and years and years and years to come. There is a wave of blue voters. These millennials and on down are leaning towards Democratic leftist ideology. Okay, so how does the Republican combat that? Because their base is dying off. Okay, the baby boomers, the conservative groups, their groups are getting smaller and smaller. So in order for them to compete, they got to continue to make it where the electoral votes is going to outnumber the popular vote, and they got to make it where it's going to make it harder for those who will come out and turn out for those popular votes versus where those electoral votes will count for. And it's unfair because a lot of those electoral votes are in states where it's a 90% white population, which are for the last 50 years have leaned right wing or red, excuse me. In this case here, you have in the state of Alabama, even from 2016, they've shut down places where you can get IDs made, or they shut down DMVs in predominantly Black rural locations where people have to travel 30 to 40 miles one way just to get an ID. Or for elderly people who've had a certain type of ID, but now they got to come back with 2 and 3 different types of IDs now, which they don't have access to those type of information.
Unbelievable.
It's just ridiculous. So I think it's a combination of both. And yes, I do believe that voter suppression is real.
Bishop, your thoughts on that?
We back 400 years ago. Back 400 years ago. First of all, the suppression is the mentality thought that we have. We can only feel suppressed if we allow ourselves to feel that way. The suppression that we're talking about, I believe that it's both. I believe that it's both. But I think more so importantly is that we need to know that the only way we can win is to go through a storm. this whole thing where more people are voting. Look at
That's basically it.
Florida is almost at its top bank on votes, early voting. Come election day, they ain't got but a few 100,000 people to vote. It's your patience. You have to, we are suppressing ourselves with the lack of patience. We know their game. We know what they're about. I mean, you see a snake, you know it bite. So you don't play with it. You go at it, you grab it, you kill it. And I'm gonna say this because I believe that there's more people voting, but the suppression is in our minds, in our thought sets. Because as I had somebody tell me the other day, I went down there, but the line was so long, I said, I'll go tomorrow. I said, and you're gonna be the one that's gonna make us lose the election. Because you know how many people are gonna think that same thing, they're gonna get out there Tuesday. Now you didn't do it already. So now you're gonna get there and you know what they're doing to us. There's gonna be 3 booths.
But yet, Bishop, that person stood in the Popeye's driveway 6 months ago for a chicken sandwich over 3 hours.
That's right.
Over 3 hours. We're gonna move on, Bishop. Let me get Tajuddin's thoughts. What are your thoughts on this, Tajuddin?
I got a lot of stuff for them.
The thing is, again, we waited. A lot of people waited too long to get into the thing. We known when to do the mail-in and all of that stuff early on, but we wait till the last minute for something important like this.
Like
so
we
again,
always
it's a little
do.
bit of both. We know that, like I say, the dirty pool that they playing with intimidation, they were doing that back in the 40s and the 50s when we was trying to do that. So nothing's really changed. The devil is the devil then and the devil now.
You know,
we know what the game is being played. So yeah, but again, we play into that. We play into waiting till the last minute to do what we knew we were supposed to do early on. Peace.
Maria, your thoughts?
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking to myself, he gonna wait to get to me and I done forgot the damn question.
Tell her the question again.
But you know what? I understand what Kinlaw is saying about voter suppression is that we black. You know what they say about black folks. Black folks ain't never on time. So they just like, oh, black folks don't care. So that's why we only getting 5 of them. Because they know our culture, they presume our culture is lazy. So we don't care because we've been showing them that we don't care because of the way we've been treated. That's why they throw us 2 voting booths and 5 voting booths. Because they got this thing in their minds that black folks is lazy. I have someone right now that's okay. The Department of Election, they have been sending people to different states that we need to win to go knock on people's doors and try to get them to vote. And she said there's so many ignorant people that they not even voting.
Yeah.
And listen, they gave her a ticket to Florida. They flew her to Florida, gave her a rental car, a room, meal ticket, and she got to knock on doors. People pointing guns at her. Get away from my door. She tried to get votes, but the ignorance in our community is so bad that she said she's been knocking on, and this lady was like, yo, I haven't voted in like 5 years. Young people, they don't care because we as parents that's over them, aunts, uncles, we not giving them that knowledge. So without that knowledge, they like, it's just another day.
And
It's
that's
just
sad.
another day.
That's sad. Listen,
It's sad. It's sad because she knocks. She's been in Florida, I'll say, for over a month now. And they give her a list every day.
Is
And they
that
still,
suppression or people don't want to vote? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm
no,
gonna,
they
I'm
don't.
just gonna say this.
Leave me alone, Bishop. They don't want to vote. They don't want to vote because they don't have that understanding of what the mean is to vote. You happy, Bishop? I finally answered the question.
Yeah, but before Mel, you close out, I just want to say that it is, to me, it's voter suppression, because if you go to one county and they have the same facilities and they have a different amount of machines compared to the facilities where, you know, the people of color are, you know what I'm
You
saying?
can go to that county and vote. You don't have to stay in your county to vote.
Yes, you
So
do.
if that's where they are, send the people.
No, your name got to be down in the book.
You can't do that. You can't just go to
Oh,
another
that's all
county
you
and vote.
said. I know you
You have to
can.
go where you registered to vote. And
Yeah, you
and
gotta
they
be-
did that purposely.
In North Carolina, you can go anywhere.
Because just like Maria said, they thinking that, you know, we go there and they decide, you know what, like you said, the line is too long, I'm gonna leave. But you wanna know something?
Exactly.
The people that was in the line with me, we stood the test and we stayed there and we got our vote in. And that's what people gotta do on November 3rd. You gotta stay there and get your vote in.
Yes.
Don't leave the line.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna let Kim Law have the final say on this. Go ahead, Kim Law.
You gotta be steadfast.
You know,
You gotta be
Hold
steadfast.
on, Maria. Let Kim Law speak.
to Tanya's point, I live in one of those areas where I feel like, I mean, each time I went to go vote, I was in and out in probably less than 5 minutes. I probably took the rest of that time just to say hello a few times or whatever. I do feel like the area that I live in, people do turn out to vote. People do show up to those city halls. People do show out to those community outreach and stuff like that. They go and they talk to the mayor. They go and they talk to the local authorities if there's an city councils and stuff like that. And they get their points across because they paying, you know, good sales taxes and stuff like that as well. I do believe that you don't have to, it starts way before the general election. A lot of things that affect us immediately in our own communities on a state and local level. And unfortunately, to like Maria's point, you have some people that forget the fact that they're not going to vote. They're not even registered to vote. Like, we're having conversations with people like last week, and they're like, oh yeah, the vote is next week. Can I still get registered? They're asking this last week, I mean, like last Friday last week. You see what I'm saying? And there's a large number of people that thinks that way.
And that's the shame.
They think no matter what, the same results, the same things, whatever the case. So you know that they feel that, I'll close up. If they feel that way on a general election level, then you know they're not voting on a state and local level, which it can really address a lot of their issues and concerns that they have.
We could get the Senate right now if everybody would vote.
That's a shame. Listen, I want to move on to the next question. And this one really, really angered me and bothered me. And in a town, and it's a town Graham out in Alamance County, North Carolina, voters and demonstrators are online, and the police officers of that town hosed the voters and the protesters with pepper spray.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is this justifiable? Is this premeditated? And is this criminal?
Babies.
Let's start with Shabazz on that.
Criminal. It's straight up criminal. And it goes hand in hand with what we was just talking about, voter suppression. But again, until we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, they're going to continue doing what they do. I think everybody should really look at, there's a brother named Grandmaster Jay who has an organization called In Fact, the Not Effing Around Coalition. So I think that we should adopt that philosophy in the areas that we in. Now that would combat all of that craziness like that. You got to sometimes I understand some of us done got a little weak or whatever, but sometimes you gotta meet force with force, or even show force against force. And then that gets that respect that Maria was talking about earlier. So again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It's called NFAC. Look it up. And again,
Yeah,
contact the brother and support that organization and start your own thing. Peace.
Kinlaw, is that justifiable, premeditated, or criminal?
You know, we've seen a lot of things that we've all have felt has been unjustifiable and criminal, but yet in the eyes of the law, it's been deemed justifiable and non-criminal. So I don't even know how to even address that question. What I can say is that, you know, you had armed people storm a Capitol building, a federal building in Michigan, you know, threatening the governor of Michigan in that location. Yet you have people who are, I'm assuming, protesting in regards to voters' rights and things of that nature, and they're being pepper sprayed and whatnot on that level. It's almost like you don't even know what's acceptable or is not acceptable anymore because it's happening so much. You somewhat become desensitized, unfortunately, to some of these issues. To the point of Tajuddin, I'm very familiar with the NFAC and Grandmaster Jay, and I've seen a number of his videos and some of the demonstrations and whatnot. But let's keep it 100. He ain't no dummy. He goes and he talks to the chief and he talks to the mayor and local officials to inform them that they will be coming in, they will be exercising their Second Amendment right. In that particular case, these are cops versus citizens. I will never be the one to say, hey, listen, we got to exercise our Second Amendment rights towards cops. It's not going to turn out favorably. It will be a very tragic situation, but it's not going to stop them from doing it. If anything, it's going to continue the rhetoric of why they feel like it's necessary to do the things that they do. What I will say is this: you have, I've observed how Koreans operate. I've observed how the Asian Indian communities operate. I've observed how the Chinese operate, and a number of the Africans, like the real Africans, operate. No matter who wins these elections, at the end of the day, they understand the importance of group economics. And post-Mecca, Malcolm X had it best. And what Maria had alluded to earlier in the day. Until we control our dollar, until we understand how powerful our dollar is, and that's starting from the pro athletes to the rappers to the entertainers all the way down. Because it used to be our entertainers and rappers or singers were still conscious enough to bring awareness to the communities that they came from. You know, they was making money, but they made songs. They used their platform to bring awareness to these issues. The Stevie Wonders, the Ray Charles, no matter how big they were, they never was too big to forget their roots and where they came from. The James Brown made a whole album of Black Power. We don't have that anymore because these people can get paid as long as they get paid. It saddens me. You have the Shaquille O'Neals, one of my favorite players. The reason why I'm an Orlando Magic fan to this day. He said he voted for the first time. He's almost 50. You see what I'm saying? You had Snoop Dogg
that said the same thing.
A
Snoop Dogg.
lot of people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, you know, and Lil Wayne.
It's a lot of.
Lil Wayne is posted up.
As long as they got that money, what did they need to vote for?
You know, he never voted. So
I got money.
Until we get the understanding of group economics and understanding the power that we have within our own communities to help each other up. And instead of throwing 30,000 at Magic City, throw 30,000 into a charter program or like Ludacris, a housing community to help out battered women or something. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you 100%.
I'll talk about that forever, but you know, until we understand that, you know, things ain't gonna change too much.
Let me get Maria's thoughts on this. Maria, was this justifiable, premeditated, or criminal?
You and I were commenting, you know, on it earlier today, and it had to be premeditated. If you already prepared with certain weaponry and stance, you already know what you're getting ready to do. But what bothered me so was the babies. Now, why you trying? Come on now, the babies.
Unbelievable.
They can't hurt you. Why you pepper spraying the baby?
Unbelievable.
And it so reminded me of when I saw all of that. It just reminded me of the 1960s when they was spraying us in. It's
With
like
water hoses.
it's a never ending story,
History
you
repeats
know.
itself.
But I'm just thinking to myself, it's just I don't know if it's gonna get worse or it's gonna get better, but the way things are going, it's just gonna get worse because how can you attack Biden-Harris bus and nothing happens to you?
It's
That's
unbelievable.
you
Unbelievable.
attacking a presidential, somebody important. You attacking their bus and nothing happens. So
But-
I'm not surprised you attack us, nothing happens. You attacking him and they ain't nothing happen. So I don't see nothing extra for us.
Trump
But
said they
I
were
do
protecting
know
that bus.
is that
He said he was keeping the bus safe. Listen, we're gonna move on to Tanya. Tanya, was that premeditated, justifiable, or criminal?
It was premeditated.
Tanya, go ahead. Tanya, go ahead.
It was premeditated. So it's criminal. So it's not justifiable. And I'm gonna leave it right
Thank
there.
you.
Bishop,
Thank
your thoughts on it?
Well, there's an old model. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? Satan has had one tool, and that's where we got that from: deception. It was unjustifiable. It was criminal. It was insane. It was unspeakable. It was very, very discouraging and disgusting. I think that it was horrible. And I go with Maria. It made me think of the marches where we got watered holes down. They done got rid of the dogs and then brought the guns back. See, one time they got rid of the guns and had the dogs. Now they done brought the guns back because, and they're using the guns they're using now is pepper spray. It's a pepper spray. It's another gun. To see this and to hear the president of the United States take compassion on the behavior of them. If you idiots don't get out and vote, you deserve what you get.
Exactly. He
We know
applauded them. He
Have
applauded
you ever
them.
looked at Trump's face? Do you know his eyebrows go up like the ears of the devil? His eyebrows go up like the ears of the devil. Have you looked at it?
Let me close
That's
this.
the leader we got, and this with no
Being
justice.
messy now, Bishop.
Shabbat, did you say anything on that?
Yeah, he did. He
Yeah, I
did.
did. Yes, I did.
He did.
He
Let me
did.
close this out on this one.
I didn't.
Let me close this out on this.
Close out, Ramel. I just want to say one last thing, right? It's going to get worse if Trump get in there.
I said that. It's just.
I'm just telling you.
No, it's going to get worse if he do or he don't. It's going to get worse either way.
Did I say something?
I hope y'all got y'all little guns or BB guns or something in the house. Something in the house. I hope somebody got something in the house.
Let me close this out on this real quick.
People 6 years ago.
I'm just over it.
It ain't gonna get no better.
Let me say
president
this.
in the world, history making worst president of the world.
Let me say this, please. When you see
Go ahead, say it.
police officers spraying down a group of voters, maybe protesters, with pepper spray, that is not your ordinary use of equipment that is in a police car or at the wayside. Personally, every person that was on that shift, that was part of that precinct, in my mind or estimation, should be fired immediately. There's no way that that was not proposed. You can't tell me that wasn't proposed in roll call or in the precinct with and actually executed. There's no way. And to me, that's why when somebody asks me, are there any good cops out there? No, there's no good cops out there.
No, but
There's police officers. Hold on, Maria. Hold on. There's police officers that do good things. But if there's a bad cop at a precinct and nobody is telling on them, they're just as bad as that cop.
That's right.
So if you're an enabler,
like your
you're a bad cop.
Like
now, I don't want to make it personal, but to me, you're no different than the person that's doing wrong if you're not squeezing on that person.
That's right.
Now, you can do good police work.
But if it's
your
your supervisor tells you to do A, B, and C, and you
once they tell on the other police officer.
This is a hot topic here because everybody on fire right now about this mess going on.
Once they tell on the other police officer, they're gonna have to
that may be so, but if your intentions is to be a good officer, then that's what you need to do. And that's exactly what you need to do. These people should not have been able to leave the precinct with pepper spray to go to a voting poll site and be able to spray it on innocent people.
Listen,
I've been in roll calls before. That's not what goes
on.
on.
I agree with you.
All need to be fired.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate.
Let's
I
move
just
on.
can be the devil's advocate because if you put in that position and you got your other fellow officers and they looking at you like, damn, man, you ain't gonna get along with the program, you gonna be a punani. They looking at you funny. So of course they gonna go along with it. Regardless if their conscience is eating them up as not, they're not gonna look like a punani in front of their fellow officers. They're gonna go along with the program. Not only because that's their livelihood, but they're not looking like they ain't got no kahunas to their other peoples. So that's why it's some of them that do that. Because
I would say this. Right, before we close out with that, Ramel, and Shabazz can attest to this. You know, me and him worked together as correctional officers before. And there is a code. But you know what? When it's wrong, it's wrong. I didn't hold up no wrong. And Shabazz will tell you, I'll step out and say what I gotta say. I'm not with that blue and cold corrections and all that. I went right and what's wrong.
Moral values. Listen,
and integrity.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's where we were when we were in our blue.
Well, before we move on, I just want to acknowledge the viewers that are watching and making comments. Aunt Tiny, she agrees it is criminal. Lorraine, our cousin, she also agrees that it's criminal. She's encouraging that TruGossip continue to speak the truth. And this is why we have this platform, because we are the people for the people. We're speaking on behalf of the people. And listen, we're not saying what we're saying is right or it's the absolute truth, but you know what? When there's smoke, there's fire. And I believe right now we're on fire.
That's right.
We're on fire. We're gonna move along. Yeah. You know, someone brought it up about the Trump supporters surrounding the Biden tour bus of some campaign members. Listen, Trump said on national TV that they wasn't causing no harm. They was keeping them safe. Listen, I'm going to tell you something.
He's an idiot.
Come on.
I've never seen a president respond and act in a matter that this man is acting. And some of the things that we're seeing going on, he's inciting it. He is encouraging it.
Yes,
he is the one that is lighting the torch to it. I mean, he really is. And I'm going to start with Kinlaw, our Southern free thinker. Listen, Ken Law, you and I used to work together right there in Gwinnett County on Satellite Boulevard. Kamala Harris had a rally today at Infinite Energy Arena, and the Trump supporters was acting wild in the Duluth area today. What do we say? Is works or the mark of a president that's just igniting this behavior? Your thoughts on it, Ken Law?
If this was the leader of the organization that we work for, we would definitely not stand for it. We wouldn't even be working there. We would definitely address that person, he or she, directly if it came down to it. His conduct will be on terminal grounds on a number of different Fortune 500 locations. I mean, this is reckless. This is complete reckless behavior. And this is not just a one-off or a misspoke or whatever. This is his action. He is treating this like a reality show. He is treating the White House like a reality show. Like Tajuddin said earlier in the year, I am going to miss the entertainment of it. It is the best reality show ever I've seen in the White House. I mean, that's the one thing I could probably take away from this. I can't take anything else away from it. It used to be entertaining, but now it's just outright concerning and just disheartening and sad. Is completely immature, his actions. Is deliberate inciting of these actions of these people. And he's already sent out these dog whistles of some type of crazy lunatic to react a certain way if things were not too far his way come election night. He's already done put that out in the atmosphere. So I caution not only the people on this panel, but everyone to be cautious, be careful. He's already claiming rumored to be said that he's going to claim victory going into election day if the numbers are favorable for him. To kind of already say that there's something that has happened to why if he were to lose. You see what I'm saying? So he's already setting up the deck for people to react a certain way while he's, catered by a number of Secret Service agencies and the military at his hands. And he's going to let the civilians, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy, but totally unacceptable.
Maria, your thoughts?
All I know is that we're doomed if we dealing with the electoral votes. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Because as much as we vote, I mean, I had it broke down to me today, and it was sad. I was like, well, damn, so I'm really at a crossroads. Like it's we putting all this in it, vote, but it seems like we still have no control. Regardless of our culture, we can't even say it's white privilege. It's just up to whoever, that's in charge of the electoral votes. So I'm just like, I'm glad everybody is voting. I'm glad everybody is trying to get him out of office. I'm not saying Biden is, all of that. Y'all know my opinion on that, but
yeah,
I just don't see anything. I don't see anything positive from this election. That's all.
Tajuddin,
go ahead, Todd.
I'm looking at Trump as he's actually the spokesperson or what's in the mentality of most people are anyway. He's the manifestation. He's the puppet and the people behind it. I was in the store today and you could even sense the tension in the store of me being a black man in this store. And I could just feel the tension where they're looking at me strange or whatever. And it's not paranoia, but he's created that atmosphere, as brother was talking earlier. So it's what's on the minds of the people. He's just the figurehead of this whole thing. So again, that's how I see it. And that's what I'm feeling. So again, we got to look beyond, okay, after November the 3rd or the 4th, what next? What can we do after that? And that's going to take a collective, a collection of people with the mind to put again an agenda. Okay, what if he's elected?
Right.
Okay, now again, Biden and Harris, again, they're not going to be speaking for our agenda. So what we like, I think it was Ken saying we gotta sway the local and the state levels so that they can affect the impact the federal level or congressional and all of that. But the local level, it has to start there. But then again, we got to get ourselves, our mindset straight also.
And
And
you
again, have
right
a group
about
go
that.
to
You
those
right about
officials
that
with
topic.
our agenda and what we need and what we want, you know, and demand it.
And
You know,
I ain't never really thought about that. I ain't never really thought about Taj D, because we should be thinking about, wonder if he do just happen to get back in office.
Right.
We should be already on top of that, of what we gonna do and how we
Right.
gonna protect ourselves if he just happened to slide up in there. And you right about that, because I really didn't think about that. We
Right.
should be
And
thinking about that now.
I think you
What
mentioned
we
it,
gonna
and
do?
Kim
What,
Law
how we
mentioned
preparing
it, was that
ourselves?
boycotting, that economic thing.
Right.
Now, give me a second.
You know, I've
If
been
we were
down with
all
that.
black people, and I know people don't want to do it, whatever, but if we were all to say we boycotting Christmas this year, imagine the impact that
They
these
gonna do.
businesses would
They
feel
gonna
if we
Absolutely.
They
withdrew
talk
that.
about Christmas.
Absolutely.
Peace. But y'all gonna add
Absolutely.
on to that.
Absolutely. Tanya, your thoughts on this?
I forgot the question. What was the
Well,
question?
I'm going to bring it back up. You know, the fact that you have these Trump supporters surrounding the Biden campaign bus and, you know, stopping traffic on the highways and Garden State Parkway. I mean, what happens? What do we do about, what can be done about this? Is he to blame for this? Is he the one, should he be penalized for this?
Listen, I believe that he's not to blame for it. Just like Shabazz said, people already had that mindset. He
Right.
just gave them courage to be able to bring it to fruition.
Well, before you say your next thought, let me share this. Lorraine, she commented and she said Trump lights a match to the imbeciles of the people like the KKK, white supremacists, prejudiced people. He's a joke. So to your point, you're saying he's not to blame, but if Lorraine's message is clear and it's factual, if it is factual that he lights a match, then he should be to blame.
But you can't blame somebody for what somebody else thinks and somebody else's actions. You know what I'm saying? These people already had a mindset their mindset was already like that. But they didn't know how to bring that agenda forth. Now they got a leader that's saying in the highest place in the United States of America, that's saying it's okay to be a racist. It's okay to do these things. So now they feel empowered and they feel and they got the Superman, like he said, on their chest. You know what I'm saying? To be able to go out and do this. Now, I have a cousin, which we all, the three of us that's on here that are related, we have a cousin, and you know, she said what we need to do is go out. If you ain't got a gun permit, go get one. Seriously. She said, if you don't got a gun permit, you need to go and get one. Because that's what they're doing.
I've been said that 6 years ago. I said a gun and a passport.
They're getting ready for war.
A gun and a passport. People that know me that been on my page, I said it like 6 years ago. You need a gun and you need your passport.
What's the
If
passport
you don't have
for?
that before,
You can get away.
Barack,
So you can cross the border.
Right. It's better to have it and don't need it than to need it and don't have it.
I'm just saying, I got a passport, but I'm just wondering, that just didn't sound right. You have a gun and a passport. Like, what, you about to commit a crime and you gonna leave the country?
No, you need a gun. Listen, you need a gun to protect your house.
Let's move on. Bishop hasn't had a chance to speak on this topic. Close us out on this topic, Bishop.
I can't remember what the topic is. No, I think that, in all honesty, I think that, you know, Tony was saying, let me put it this way. Between the white supremacists, the KKKs, and Trump, which was the ventriloquist, which was the dummy? That's the question you gotta ask yourself. Because somebody's talking, everybody else was walking. So which one is it? Are you gonna blame the white supremacists for Trump doing what he's doing? Because he's swaying towards them because he needs their support. He know he ain't got my support.
Trump, I blame
So
him.
the ventriloquists is talking to the dummies, and the dummies are running around here blocking off Biden's trunks, causing riot, causing chaos. Guess what? I'm like you, Maria. Get a passport and a gun, because you might have to leave because you done kill somebody, or you might have to leave because you're running for your life.
How did I keep?
But at the end of the day, I blame Trump. He is the president of the United States. He is the leader of this country, and he's showing no respect or morals or any kind of
Exactly, no respect for humanity.
But you can't blame someone for somebody else's action.
Yeah. You know what? When a child does wrong, the first thing they blame is the mama.
I will.
They
Let me,
should
So I don't want to hear
Already racist.
Well,
They
I'm glad to be
should
able to
not blame but they always
Hello. You okay with it?
But I don't agree.
I'm not going to agree with that, and I'm not going to agree with it because
You don't have to agree with me. That's we all got our different opinions.
Because just like a child get burnt on a stove, you done told that child 30 times, don't touch that stove. But when you go down there, BCW at your house, child protection at your house.
What I got to do with racist people? Okay.
So my thing is that when you're in leadership and you have the power to take control over something, and you start initiating a misconduct of behavior, I blame it on you.
Let me answer that real quick. Let me answer that real quick.
We're gonna give Kinlaw a few seconds to comment, and then I'll close us out.
Hey, let me answer that real quick. To Bishop's point, Martin Luther King was a peaceful protester, correct?
I sat here the whole time and didn't say anything.
So check this out.
I'm gonna say what I gotta say to that.
So check this out.
Okay?
With that approach, I think we all can agree that Martin Luther King's words have mattered, right?
What's going on with Bishop? He all right?
I'm ticked
No,
off.
he acting like Trump, Smite.
Don't mute me. Don't mute me when I sat here.
Hey, Bishop, let me get this point out real quick.
It's all good.
Let me get this point out real quick. Listen,
I ain't got
Martin Luther King was known as a peaceful protester, right? And that means that his words have power, right? Had Martin Luther King had a different approach of being a somewhat of a radical leader, then who knows what would have taken place had his message would have been, listen, let's go back at these people, let's get guns, let's shoot, let's burn, let's rob, let's do whatever we got to do. And guess what? He was powerful enough, his voice was powerful enough to embolden that amongst his followers. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, I think
we talk about Martin Luther King, right? You talk about Martin Luther King, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. So with that being said, if you're the president of the United States, your words do matter to a certain degree. Yes, Tanya. No one can be responsible for another man's action. But when you have that platform, you know what I mean? If you're influenced by entertainers, actors, even your bigger cousin, you can be influenced by the president of the United States.
You're supposed to act the same way.
So at the end of the day, he's dangerous. Like, he's dangerous. If you, I just can't imagine.
Very.
Another 4 years of him either. And I understand exactly what the bishop was saying, that you know, because he is a leader and and like you're saying, that his voice can make a difference with people. But these people mindset was already like that. They just was more encouraged to be able to do what they were doing.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that I want to do, but I know that I shouldn't do it. So I won't do it. You understand what I'm saying? These people know better than
me. Their home training kicking. That home training kicking. You know you ain't supposed to be a certain.
Like he said,
Yeah.
I'm the least racist person you would know. What the hell does that mean?
Least racist person in the room. Listen, I just wanna say thank you to you all. Thank you to the viewers that have chimed in. This has been another great show. Before we close out, what I want to do is I want to just go around the horn. We'll end with Tanya so she can close us out for the show. But I want to give you a minute just to speak freely. Maybe you didn't get a chance to touch on something today, but this is an opportunity. If you want to vent,
Tanya, when she talk.
if you want to vent or whatever the case is, I'm going to kick it off first because I have a problem with what's going on today. Listen, I'm not going to tell you that I'm the most political person out there. I'm not going to tell you that I've followed politics all my life, because I haven't. I've always voted only because people have shed blood, sweat, and tears so that I can have this right. I know that's not the reason why you should vote. You should be more involved, and you should know your awareness and your surroundings. But it's always seemed like it's been the lesser of two evils for me when I go into the polls. Except for when I voted for Barack Obama, because I voted for a person who looked like me. All right? Exactly. But it saddens me that a country such as America, that is supposed to be the mighty country, is being led by a knucklehead that gives poor examples on how to conduct yourself in leadership. Listen, I'm a manager on my job. You're a bishop on your church. Maybe some of y'all are managers or have high positions, maybe you even parents, some maybe even grandparents. If you are a parent, that's a role of leadership. If you're a manager, that's a role of leadership. If we act in the manner that this man act, not only we lose our jobs, we may even lose our children, because this is a poor example of leadership. It's no other way to examine it. And we talk about what will happen if he's reelected. You know, it's funny. I mentioned to you all once upon a time that Canada is looking very nice right about now. And that's becoming more of a reality. Because if they're showing up at the poll sites, spraying pepper hoses on people, if these militia groups and others are stopping traffic in the middle of the highway, surrounding a public official or a president to be possibly campaign bus, what do you think they're going to do going further if he's reelected for 4 years?
We did. We do.
If you ain't if you haven't gone out and vote, you get out there and vote, and you make your vote count.
Yes.
And you ask yourself, who do you want to lead this country if you care at all?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to go to Tajadeen. Give us a minute.
Peace, peace, peace. Again, with everybody, I appreciate the platform that we've been on. But again, we need leaders. The minister is old, but he's left people there. But again, you need to be the leader. You need to be the leader of your family. You need to be the leader of your community. You need to be, and it branches off from that. As the scriptures say, and if I'm wrong, Bishop, correct me, but I thought it said old men or old women for counsel and young people for war.
That's right. That's
now,
right.
Now we speak in mental, spiritual, or physical. Mental, spiritual, or physical. So again, we don't need a leader. We need to be that leader first. And then that branches off from that. And again, stay with your morals, stay with your integrity, be who you are, and be true to who you are. Peace.
Peace, peace. Bishop, follow up on Tajadeen. Give us a minute of something that you want to say, you haven't had a chance to speak out. The stage is yours.
Bring it.
I just want to know,
give him the stage. Give him the stage.
No, in all seriousness, you know, I'm really very upset with the fact that we have a leader here that doesn't have compassion for everybody. And at the end of the day, Donald Trump, if he wins this election again, you think you've seen some rioting going on? They haven't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
We haven't seen nothing, and they haven't seen nothing, because we can get just as belligerent and arrogant and gunfiery as they are, because these millennium kids are not playing.
No.
You know, I think that we have a major issue going on here, and we're not focusing on the real problem. The real problem is there's no justice. N-O-W, K-N-O-W. You got to know it. Because if not, there's going to be no justice. No justice, no justice. If we don't know justice, then we'll never have it. And we've allowed this president to infiltrate his behavior of characteristics, who he really is. He showed us in his first year who he was. Got impeached and didn't leave the White House. I've never seen nothing like this in my life. And we got all these Supreme Court justice people with this 1776 mentality that black man is only 3/4 human. And we got these white dogs eating us up, these KKKs, all these white supremacists, and we got a devil leading the country. It's sad. It's sad. And wholeheartedly, I say that the reason why we're having the problem we have is because guess what? We don't like to do what we need to do. We always say we can always do what we got to do when we got to do it, but we don't do it when we need to do it. We need to get out, cast our votes on every election. Don't wait for president election. Every election, your local, your state, every election we got to vote, because guess what? We could win the presidency, but if we lose the electorals and we lose the people that we need in position in the White House, in the Supreme Court, guess what? We lost either way.
We lost. Yeah. Thank you, Bishop. Let's get Maria's final words. There's no question on this, so you're free to speak.
So listen. Oh, so this is the last time I'm gonna speak.
Yes. Probably not, but yes.
So let me look. So I gotta make sure this is the last time I'm gonna speak. So I gotta get everything out. But the thing, all I really want to say is that we as elders should be able to come and go to our communities and make sure our young people understand how important their vote is, their voices, their actions are, because I don't really think that we don't instill that in them anymore. You know, we just say, okay, that's how they are. You know, you're a drug dealer, you don't work, you a felon, and whatever, you wasted, but they're not wasted. You know what I'm saying? So if we don't really come together as a community, then they really don't feel like they're important, because it's a lot of young kids that they're not voting. And I say between 21 and 30, they're not voting, you know, because they really don't see any type of change, you know, so we don't show them any change. They're not going to expect any change. So we need to really voice to our young people, like, you know, I have children from, well, my oldest is 34 and my youngest is 26. But I have instilled in them the importance to vote.
Yeah.
And if we don't do that, then they're not gonna vote. If we don't show any type of initiative like, yo, you really need to get out there because A, B, C, D. But if you don't show them that, you know, there's nothing really to say. You know, you really can't complain. You know, and it's up to us, the elders, you know, to really, you know, show our children. You know, maybe they'll pass it on to their friends, or if you have influence or whatever, and they'll pass it on and be like, yo, you know, this is the knowledge that my mom and my father told me, and it's really important that you should vote. So, you know, like you know, we would say each one reach one, teach one. We really need to put that knowledge into our children because
I agree.
everyone can reach one.
I agree. Kinlaw, your
Donnie
final
is
words.
smelling going out the vote. You can bet that.
Kinlaw, your final words.
Um, this election, this past several years, I mean, I've thought of things on a number of different times, occasions, but these last several years has been a little different for me in how I looked and viewed things. For one, when Trump came out and had that photo out with Lil Wayne, I thought that was very insulting. You know, in a statement, I think there was a quote saying that, hey, he listened to us. He's doing great things for criminal reform, justice reform and stuff like that. And he's going to put money back in the community to help develop businesses. And when he said something about criminal or justice reform, this young man has made a living over the last 20 years. And I'm one of the younger people here on this panel, but I've been listening to Lil Wayne since what, 1999.
I don't even know who he is.
Listen, this man has made a living rapping about everything violence, gang related, womenizing, coke, drugs, codeine, drinking, everything you could think of. If you just go through any of his records, I think I stopped listening to Lil Wayne back in 2001. But to have him to come out now and say, hey, listen, this is what Trump stands for, this, that, and third, it's hypocrisy at its most, okay?
It's money.
What's more disturbing to me is that you have the evangelical group, which is the largest group in the United States, that has backed this man time and time and time again, tenfold. And yet you have one of the most outspoken presidents of the most conservative colleges of Liberty University come out with all kind of scandalous stuff, you know, sexualizing his wife and other things, and all types of stuff. But it's like Trump is the epitome or the opposite of everything that they claim. And now you got this whole evangelical movement that is Trump everywhere. And then you got the Pastor Gray out in Greenville, South Carolina, who is still trying to collect money in the pulpit, but is buying his boss a Maserati every time he gets caught up with an affair with his side piece.
It's money. All that is tied to money.
And I used to be a member of what's the name of the church? Bishop had mentioned Eddie Long. What's the name of the church?
New Mercies.
No, out there in Lithonia.
New Mercies.
New Birth.
New Birth.
Used to be a member there, and I was there during the time in which that scandal took place. And now the church is in debt, and then they got Jamal Bryant to come there to continue to keep that money coming because they need to pay that money because that man had to pay like $12 million to those guys.
Wow.
And so, nevertheless, it just makes me question, not necessarily question, but I'm at a crossroads to a certain degree of where is the direction of Christianity, you know, and where is it going as a whole? Because now we're starting to see the true identity. You know what I'm saying?
That's sad.
With people who hit you with that Jesus stuff and all this other stuff all day, but yet will show face just to do these things and to the whole thing of the whole Black Lives Matter. I had a buddy that used to say this all the time. Ish don't stink unless it's in your hand. Okay? Which means when a black man dies, when a Tamar Rice dies, when a Trayvon Martin dies, when a Mike Brown dies, I gravitate to that. You gravitate to that. We all can gravitate to that because we were those kids at one point in time in our lives.
Yeah. Sandra Bland.
Trayvon Martin. They're kids by black boys, you know what I'm saying? Or black officers. Their kids don't get Tamar Rice because they can play cops and robbers all day, every day. Their kids don't get Mike Brown.
And nothing happened.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? You know, the blood is different. You know what I'm saying? And bloodshed will change things. And I hate to say it, but until you see black officers slamming and doing things and shooting these white kids and these white men and these mental challenges and stuff like that, it won't change the makeup of what they see and how they view.
It ain't gonna change.
And my last point. that Walter situation, Walter Wallace up there in Philly.
Crazy.
My brother called me the night that happened. You know why? Because he lives 2 blocks down the street from there with his wife and kids. For the initial protest night of that. And my brother is 6'4", ex-Marine, or not ex-Marine, honorably discharged Marine. Okay, his wife is also Marine as well. They both serve several tours. He has PTSD. She's dealing with a few things. At the end of the day, that could have been him.
Yes.
That could have been him. And I know from his physical stature that they would have took him out instantly.
Quickly.
I'll be willing to take my own brother out. You know what I'm saying? So I know what the cops would have done.
Quickly.
It's a shame. It's just a shame that these things happen so instantly. But you see how they detain other situations with more compassion and with more resilience. So
thank you.
That's what was on my mind.
Can I just 2 seconds? I just wanted to say something about what he was saying about the evangelicals and the preachers. The scripture tells us that there'll be false prophets that will come amongst us. There'll be wolf in sheep clothing.
Exactly.
All those that you're talking about are those false prophets in wolf and sheep clothing. Needless to say, a little pastor like me with 20 members, if that many, with 1,000 square foot, is working hard in the vineyard trying to get the people to think consciously about how they can grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. So everybody, you know, and it saddens my spirit because when I see that, because I had meant to mention about the evangelical earlier, you know, and like Christians and Muslims, we're too different. We have 2 different concepts and beliefs. But one thing we do believe that God is more powerful than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we start putting God in this country, instead of taking them out, we took them out of school, we take them out of church. God, you go to church sometime, God ain't even there. So when we put God in the midst of what we're doing, then we can prosper. That's our problem. We're taking God out of the equation. And we put ourselves there and think that we're doing the same thing, expecting different results.
And that's insanity. Great point, Bishop. Let's move on. Tanya, give us your closing arguments and close us out.
I don't have an argument, but I'm going to say your voice, his voice, her voice, our voice have to become action in order to make a change. And I'm going to leave it at that. This is TruGossip Season 2, and we thank you all for joining in. And those that chimed in, we appreciate your comments and your feedback. Check us out on our next episode with TruGossip. And you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify. Love to hear from you. Inbox us if you want to come on our show.
That's a concept, it's not the complex.
Peace and blessings.
On the truth and the gossip, it's not a contest, but a step in a process to get the truth and the gossip. From the house to the streets, where the gossip meets the truth, it's not the complex.
We are first cousins.
Your mindset on the truth and the gossip, not
You
a contest.
We're still on Facebook. Hold on.
Where
I'm gonna need Bishop to raise back his computer to see what's on his cup. See what's on his desktop.
What you got going on over there, Bishop?
I done drank so much water, I had to leave the set to go pee.
Hey,
I'm glad it started hollering at me.
hey.
We'll
zoom out so we can see what's in front
On
of
the
us.
serious though, right? I'm
The water advertise.
Now, how did it go on the thing? I heard you ask some questions. Was there other people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was wonderful. Primarily Tiny was chiming in. Lorraine was chiming in.
My wife was watching.
Nashaba said something. There was a couple of people.
Where the gossip meets the truth, it's not the complex. Keep your mindset on the